Imagine a life where you've achieved all the conventional markers of success: a thriving career, a comfortable home, a loving family, and a robust social life. Yet, despite this outward perfection, a nagging sense of emptiness persists, a feeling that something essential is missing. What if the pursuit of meaning is itself the illusion, and the true path lies in accepting that life, in its essence, may have no inherent meaning? This unsettling proposition is at the heart of absurdism, a philosophy championed by the brilliant Albert Camus. Camus, a Nobel Prize-winning author and philosopher, grappled with the profound conflict between humanity's relentless search for meaning and the cold indifference of the universe. Absurdism, in its simplest form, is the recognition of this fundamental mismatch, the collision between our innate desire for order and purpose, and the chaotic, often senseless reality we inhabit. Consider the daily grind, the endless pursuit of goals, the meticulous planning for a future that remains uncertain, the striving for accomplishments that ultimately fade in significance. We build elaborate structures of meaning around our lives, yet a sudden illness, a chance encounter, or a moment of quiet reflection can expose the fragility of these constructs. This constant tension between our innate desire for order and the universe's inherent chaos is the essence of the absurd. Albert Camus's perspective on existence, especially in a world seemingly without meaning, stems from the grim backdrop of post-war Europe, where traditional values crumbled. Intellectuals like Kierkegaard and Nietzsche laid the groundwork for existentialism, questioning conventional truths. Camus built upon these foundations, crafting his unique philosophy to address the feeling of despair that prevailed. Absurdism is not a philosophy of despair, but a call to action. Understanding absurdism provides a realistic foundation for creating individual meaning. It shifts the focus from a futile search for external validation to the empowering act of defining your own values and purpose. Embracing this philosophy can liberate you from the constraints of societal expectations, allowing you to pursue authentic choices, cultivate deeper relationships, and appreciate the simple, fleeting moments of joy that life offers. This path acknowledges uncomfortable truths about existence. It requires confronting the inevitability of death and suffering and accepting the challenge of creating meaning in a world that offers no guarantees. But why should we even bother? Why not simply succumb to nihilism and embrace the void? Because within this apparent meaninglessness lies the potential for profound freedom. To truly understand absurdism, we must first acknowledge our inherent human need for meaning and purpose. Psychological research consistently demonstrates the crucial role that meaning plays in our overall well-being and mental health. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, for example, places self-actualization, the realization of one's full potential, at the pinnacle of human motivation. Central to Camus's philosophy are four key concepts: the absurd itself, revolt, freedom, and passion. The absurd, as we've discussed, is the fundamental conflict between our desire for meaning and the world's indifference. Revolt is the constant affirmation of life in the face of this absurdity, a refusal to be defeated by meaninglessness. Freedom is the ability to choose our own values and actions, unburdened by external constraints. And passion is the intensity of experience that gives life meaning, even in the absence of inherent purpose. Camus explores these concepts extensively in his literary works, most notably The Myth of Sisyphus and The Stranger. In The Stranger, we are introduced to the aloof Mousseau, who embodies a unique response to the absurd. His actions, or lack thereof, challenge conventional societal norms. Ultimately, how do we reconcile ourselves to a world without inherent meaning? Is it possible to not only accept the absurd, but to thrive within it? If life is indeed meaningless, what then is the point of doing anything? And more importantly, can we truly find happiness and fulfillment in a world devoid of inherent purpose? Join us as we delve into the philosophy of Albert Camus and explore how he discovered freedom and joy in the face of the absurd, setting the stage for a life lived authentically and passionately. So, How do we reconcile ourselves to a world without inherent meaning? Is it possible not only to accept the absurd, but to thrive within it? To truly grasp this, let's delve deeper into the philosophical underpinnings of absurdism, starting with the core concept itself, the absurd. At its heart, the absurd signifies the irreconcilable chasm between humanity's intrinsic yearning for meaning, purpose, and clarity, and the universe's cold, indifferent silence. We crave answers to fundamental questions. Why are we here? What is our purpose? What happens after death? We look to science, religion, and philosophy for definitive answers, yet each ultimately falls short. Scientific inquiry, while offering profound insights into the workings of the natural world, inevitably encounters the limits of its own methodology. The deeper we delve into the mysteries of the cosmos, the more we realize the vastness of what remains unknown. Can science truly explain the subjective experience of consciousness, or provide a satisfying answer to the question of why there is something rather than nothing? Religious dogma, while offering comfort and a sense of belonging to countless individuals, often relies on faith and revelation, which can clash with logic and reason. The problem of evil, for instance, challenges the notion of an omnipotent, benevolent God in a world rife with suffering. Philosophical systems, from Plato's theory of forms to Kant's transcendental idealism, attempt to construct comprehensive frameworks for understanding reality. However, they too are subject to interpretation and debate, offering no universally accepted truths. In each case, we reach a point where our quest for ultimate answers is frustrated by the inherent limitations of human knowledge and the universe's stubborn refusal to reveal its secrets. Camus's concept of revolt is not about violent revolution or political upheaval, but a constant, unwavering affirmation of life in the face of the absurd. It's the defiant no to the silent universe, a refusal to be crushed by meaninglessness. However, and this is crucial, it's also a yes to life, a wholehearted embrace of experience in all its richness and complexity. This revolt is paradoxical. Sisyphus, eternally condemned to roll a boulder uphill only to have it roll back down, is the ultimate symbol of the absurd. Most might view his existence as a tragic exercise in futility, but Camus invites us to imagine Sisyphus finding joy in the very act of pushing the boulder, even knowing the task is ultimately pointless. It is Sisyphus's conscious awareness of his condition that elevates him to the status of an absurd hero. He understands the absurdity of his fate, yet he chooses to continue, finding meaning in the act of rebellion itself. This seemingly simple act of revolt is available to all. Consider the artist who pours their heart and soul into creating a work of art, knowing that it may never be recognized or appreciated. Or the humanitarian who dedicates their life to helping others, even when faced with overwhelming suffering and injustice. Or the individual who chooses to pursue a personal passion despite the lack of guarantee of success or recognition. These are all acts of defiance against the absurd, affirmations of life in the face of meaninglessness. Freedom, in the context of absurdism, is not simply the absence of external constraints, but the liberation from imposed values and the embrace of individual choice. When we recognize the absence of inherent meaning, we are freed from the burden of searching for it in external sources, such as societal expectations, religious doctrines, or philosophical systems. This freedom allows us to define our own values, create our own purpose, and live authentically in accordance with our own choices. Closely linked to freedom is passion, the intensity of experience that gives life meaning, even in the absence of inherent purpose. Passion fuels our revolt against the absurd, providing the energy and motivation to live fully and embrace the present moment. Freedom allows for the passionate pursuit of self-defined values. Choosing a career path based on genuine passion, even if it deviates from societal norms or expectations, is an example of freedom in action. It is choosing to live authentically, guided by one's own internal compass, rather than conforming to external pressures. Cultivating deep relationships based on authentic connection rather than superficial expectations is another. It's about embracing experiences that evoke strong emotions, even if they are painful, because these experiences make us feel alive. The seeds of Camus's absurdist philosophy were sown in the fertile ground of his own life experiences and the turbulent historical context of post-war Europe. Born in Algeria to a working-class family, Camus experienced poverty and injustice firsthand. These early experiences instilled in him a deep sense of empathy for the suffering of others and a skepticism towards abstract ideologies. His involvement in the French resistance during World War II further shaped his worldview, exposing him to the horrors of war and the moral compromises that individuals and societies are forced to make in times of crisis. The intellectual climate of existentialism and nihilism that pervaded post-war Europe also played a significant role in the development of his thought. Existentialist thinkers like Kierkegaard and Nietzsche had already challenged traditional notions of meaning and purpose, paving the way for Camus's exploration of the absurd. It is impossible to discuss Camus without mentioning Jean-Paul Sartre, another towering figure of existentialism. While the two philosophers shared some common ground, they ultimately diverged in their views on the nature of freedom and the possibility of finding meaning in a world without God. Their complex relationship, marked by both intellectual camaraderie and philosophical disagreement, reflects the vibrant and often contentious intellectual landscape of the time. Now, let's bring these concepts together to understand Camus's central thesis. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. This statement is not an endorsement of delusion or blind optimism, but rather a call for conscious acceptance and a recognition of the value inherent in the struggle itself. Happiness is possible even in the face of the absurd, not by denying it or seeking to escape it, but by embracing it with awareness and revolt. It is about finding meaning in the act of living, even when confronted with the apparent meaninglessness of existence. In The Myth of Sisyphus, Camus uses the ancient Greek myth as a powerful metaphor for the human condition. Sisyphus is condemned by the gods to eternally roll a boulder up a hill, only to have it roll back down each time he nears the summit. This task is repetitive, meaningless, and seemingly futile. Yet, Camus argues that Sisyphus can find meaning in his fate by accepting his condition and choosing to continue pushing the boulder. Sisyphus embodies the absurd hero who finds meaning in his repetitive task. Sisyphus's awareness of his fate separates him from those who blindly follow orders or accept their circumstances without question. His revolt is his refusal to succumb to despair, finding meaning in the act of pushing the boulder. He understands that his task is meaningless, but he embraces it nonetheless, finding a strange sort of freedom and joy in the struggle. In The Stranger, Camus presents us with Marceau, a character who initially appears indifferent to life and detached from societal norms. Marceau's rebellion against societal norms and his embrace of his own experience, even in the face of death, reflects an absurdist perspective. He rejects conventional morality, focusing instead on his sensory experiences and refusing to lie or conform to expectations. He doesn't feign grief at his mother's funeral, nor does he pretend to love his girlfriend. He simply lives in accordance with his own feelings, without regard for what others might think. It is this authenticity, this refusal to play the game of societal expectations, that ultimately leads to his downfall. Yet, in the face of death, Marceau achieves a profound sense of acceptance, embracing the gentle indifference of the world. He realizes that life is ultimately meaningless, but that this meaninglessness is also liberating. Despite its profound insights, absurdism is not without its critics. One common criticism is that it leads to nihilism, the belief that life is without meaning, purpose, or value. Critics argue that if nothing truly matters, then there is no reason to do anything, leading to apathy and despair. However, Camus vehemently rejected nihilism, arguing that absurdism is not about embracing nothingness, but about creating individual values in the absence of inherent meaning. Absurdism doesn't deny the possibility of morality, but insists that morality must be self-created and not imposed. We are free to define our own ethical principles and to live in accordance with them, even if there is no external justification for doing so. This can lead to a more authentic and responsible way of living, as we are forced to take ownership of our choices and to create our own meaning in the world. So, how can we apply these principles to our own lives? How can we confront the absurd and find meaning and joy in a world without inherent purpose? And how can we make this philosophy practical and actionable? Absurdism, understood correctly, isn't a descent into despair, but an ascent to a unique and powerful form of joyful freedom. The recognition of life's inherent meaninglessness is not the end, but rather the very beginning. It's the blank canvas upon which we are free to paint our own existence. Contrast the common misconception of absurdism as bleak and pessimistic with its potential for liberation. The active choice is essential in embracing the absurd. Therein lies the opportunity to discover joy, not in spite of it, but because of it. This isn't a passive acceptance. It's an active embrace, a conscious decision to find value in a world that offers none on its own terms. Absurdism invites us to become the authors of our own narratives, the sculptors of our own identities, unconstrained by the dictates of a preordained script. It's about recognizing the freedom to define our values, pursue our passions, and create a life that is meaningful to us, even if it defies conventional expectations. Let's revisit Sisyphus. Now we must definitively see his imagined happiness as the very key to the absurdist attitude. Remember the earlier pattern of embracing versus denying the absurd. It all reinforces that acceptance leads to empowerment. The most important thing to understand is that you must imagine him happy. This is not mere wishful thinking, but a profound act of defiance. Sisyphus's awareness of his fate, his conscious understanding of the futility of his task, allows him to find a strange sort of freedom within its confines. His smile is not a sign of ignorance or delusion, but a symbol of resilience, joy, and acceptance. Visualize him not as a tragic figure, but as a determined individual, finding satisfaction in the physical exertion, the focused concentration, and the sheer act of pushing against the unyielding weight of the boulder. He transforms his punishment into a personal challenge, finding meaning in the process itself. The answer to our initial existential questions, the questions about the ultimate point, is that meaning isn't found, it's created. Let's distill the key components of this creative process: awareness, revolt, freedom, and passion. We must be aware of the absurd, revolt against its inherent meaninglessness, embrace the freedom to define our own values, and pursue our passions with unwavering intensity. The responsibility to create purpose is both a burden and a privilege, a challenge that demands courage, creativity, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. Consider this an ongoing process of self-discovery and value creation as the foundation of the absurdist way of life. See the lack of inherent meaning not as a void to be feared, but as an opportunity to define one's own purpose and values. Build meaningful relationships, pursue creative outlets, or champion social causes that resonate with your core beliefs. Understanding absurdism allows a shift in perspective, one transforming you from a victim of a meaningless universe to the creator of your own significance and values. Instead of feeling helpless in the face of existential anxiety, one can experience the empowering feeling of taking control of one's own life. Now, consider the feeling of helplessness replaced by the empowering sensation of claiming ownership of your life. Imagine anxiety replaced by a strong sense of ambition and drive. Think of those who have overcome great obstacles by embracing absurdism and crafting their own meaning. They didn't wait for life to give them purpose. They seized the initiative and forged their own paths, proving that even in the face of adversity, the human spirit can triumph. Let's integrate absurdism into a broader context, specifically that of existential responsibility and the importance of living authentically. Recall the concept of living in good faith versus bad faith. Embracing the absurd is the honest way to deal with it, isn't it? Let's bring in Sartre's concepts to further enrich the conversation. Note the challenge of living authentically in a world that often encourages conformity. Understand the ethical implications of choosing one's own actions. Existentialism reminds us that we are condemned to be free, burdened with the weight of our own choices. The world may try to define us through external labels, but it is our responsibility to resist those labels and define ourselves through our actions. Absurdism isn't solely about pursuing happiness, but experiencing the full intensity of life, both its joys and its sorrows. A crucial point to remember is that embracing the absurd allows for a richer and authentic emotional experience. This entails embracing every facet of life, with all its beauty and pain. It involves confronting our fears, acknowledging our vulnerabilities, and celebrating our triumphs. The struggle may be challenging, but the rewards are immeasurable. Embracing the absurd leads to an intensified appreciation for the present moment, even amidst trials. Pain, suffering, and loss can all be meaningful experiences that contribute to a fuller understanding of life. It is through these experiences that we develop resilience, empathy, and a deeper connection to our shared humanity. What impact could absurdism have on society? Consider that a world of individuals creating their own meaning could be more tolerant, creative, and compassionate. It encourages greater empathy and understanding in a diverse society and inspires social change. Individuals are empowered to challenge injustice and create a more significant world. Imagine a society where individuals are empowered to think for themselves, challenge conventional wisdom, and pursue their passions without fear of judgment. This is the kind of world that absurdism envisions, a world where creativity flourishes, innovation thrives, and social progress is driven by the collective desire to create a more meaningful and just society. Remember that the struggle against the absurd is what gives life value. Finding meaning is a continuous process, not a destination, with the journey holding more value than the destination itself. Keep in mind the importance of revolt as a lifelong commitment. There is no final answer to the problem of the absurd. That ongoing struggle is what makes life meaningful. See the climb as the reward and find satisfaction in simply existing. So if life is meaningless, what is the point of doing anything? Let's reframe the question. What point will you create? Remember that the freedom to choose your own values and actions is itself a powerful answer, maybe the answer. Embrace the responsibility to define your own purpose, to create your own values, and to live a life that is authentically your own. The power to forge your own path is both liberating and empowering. Think back to those contrasting responses to the absurd presented earlier. Remember, choosing awareness and revolt leads to a more fulfilling life. Compare the despair of denying the absurd with the joy of embracing it. This isn't just a philosophical concept. It's a practical choice that can have a profound impact on your well-being. Absurdism doesn't offer easy answers or guarantees. Instead, it encourages embracing uncertainty and living with questions. Accept the ambiguity of life and find comfort in not knowing all the answers. Remember that the pursuit of knowledge and purpose is a lifelong journey, not a destination. The most important questions are often the ones that cannot be answered definitively, the ones that force us to confront our own assumptions and to grapple with the complexities of existence. Now, embrace the absurd and create your own meaning. Take concrete steps to live more authentically, challenge societal norms, and pursue your passions. Become an active participant in creating a more meaningful world. Now is the time to put these ideas into practice, to translate philosophical concepts into tangible actions, and to live a life that is both meaningful and joyful. But what are the ethical implications of creating our own values? How can we ensure that our self-created meaning does not harm others? Consider the responsibility that comes with creating your own values. Reflect on the potential consequences of your choices. Strive for ethical living. We must be mindful of the impact that our actions have on others, striving to create a world that is more just, compassionate, and equitable. Delve deeper into existentialism, nihilism, and other philosophical perspectives on meaning. Read Camus, Sartre, Kierkegaard, and Nietzsche. Watch documentaries and films that explore themes of existentialism and absurdism. Broaden your understanding and refine your perspective. Share your thoughts and experiences with Absurdism in the comments. Engage in respectful dialogue with one another. Share your personal strategies for creating meaning. By sharing our experiences, we can learn from one another, challenge our own assumptions, and forge a stronger sense of community. Perhaps next time we'll explore existentialism, Stoicism, or Buddhism, and how they can further inform our understanding of meaning and purpose. I hope this exploration into absurdism has left you with more questions than answers, and inspired you to begin, or continue, your own journey towards creating a life of meaning and purpose in a world that offers none on its own terms.